How's it going, folks? Nick here with the TropicalPermaculture vlog. I got Otto, my co-star, actually sitting in my lap this morning for once. He doesn't do that too often these days, not sure why. Today's going to be a hopefully quick one, a quick vlog, because A, I'm quite busy, and B, all my other ones recently have been quite long. So try to give you a little bit something different, a little bit of a short one. So today I'm just going to show you guys how I'm trying to use vertical space back here on my homestead to try to maximize how much production I can get out of this kind of much smaller space. Using that vertical space can really kind of add a whole new element that maybe you weren't quite thinking of. So let's take a look what I'm doing over my chickens, and we'll go from there. Let's get started. That's quite playful this morning. You can see it's probably his favorite spot, this rock. It's a good sized rock for him. He likes to sleep on it and hang out, but there's also this fern which he loves to play with. It's a good morning for you, huh? Good morning. Whew, good morning for me too. I'm getting blinded. The sun's just about to come up over the hill there, or really from behind the trees. So yeah, it's about to blind me a little bit. But yeah, let's take a look here. Let's see. First and foremost, I do this pretty much first thing every time now for you guys, because who doesn't want to see the chicks in all their splendor? You won't get to see them this kind of small and this cute for much longer, so I like to maximize that as much as possible. So far so good with the chicks. We still have 6, amazingly. I'm quite surprised, honestly. We usually lose a couple throughout the process of just, you know, chicks being chicks and mama being mama, etc. But they are all here still. They're all super cute. The black one is actually starting to get a little bit more brown in the coat now. So he's starting to he or she are starting to grow up. Hopefully it's a she. I'd like to keep that one. But then again, Henry is probably our most annoying hen. No offense, Henry. We know we appreciate you for being a good mama, but you have been pretty annoying. And here we go. Chicks going to town on the food. It's always nice to see first thing in the morning. I am noticing while watching them here that I am getting a little bit of a kind of anaerobic stink smell. That's mainly because it's been so wet here, and if you look in the ground right next to them, you can see Mama keeps scratching away everything, and then all that feed that they're scratching out, even the chicks are scratching out, but Mama does that a lot. She'll get up on there and like scratch all the feed out. That feed goes down to the ground, and then that feed, when it's soaked, gets pretty stinky. When it's soaked and kind of starts to ferment and etc., you know, going through those natural processes, it starts to get pretty stinky. So it's not hard to manage. Basically what I have to do is keep on adding bedding, and so sorry chicks, your chick cam is done now, but you can see all that huge deep bedding I have down there. Maybe it's hard to see from that angle, but all of this like laneway right here, it's all pretty, it's probably 3 to 4 inches of mulch there. What happens is, even though if I put that right at the top down up here, Mama starts to scratch just like she's doing now, except she typically scratched downhill. So all that extra bedding I had up here ends up being scratched down and being basically further down there. So pretty much on every other day, every 2 or 3 days, I have to come in here and use this fork that I have waiting for me right here to essentially restart by moving all that back up. And when I do that, I try to integrate whatever that smelly stuff is right into the center of all that kind of carbon material to try to soak up that smell and that stink and potentially any bad guy organisms that might be trying to start growing there. But it's pretty much the case where the chicks, it's pretty impossible to keep their area clean, and chicks just take a lot of work. Part of rearing chicks, just got to keep them busy, keep their area clean, keep on adding high carbon material to help soak up all that manure and feed and just chick dirtiness, because they get pretty dirty. All right, so we're going to start talking about the actual vertical space bit now. So first and foremost, just using vertical space helps you use a dimension that often people don't really think about, other than doing something like a trellis or like a lean-to kind of thing. You know, if you do like a bean trellis, people often use bean trellises. That's pretty normal, right? But you can also use pretty much anything on your property that can grow things on it. You can try to use that for vertical space. So a somewhat poor example is this fence line here. So this fence line, you can see, especially here in the tropics, there's so many vining crops and vining types of vines and vining flowers and all that kind of stuff, right? And you can see this entire fence line is just like covered in these vines. So all of these vines are actually kind of weedy growth, things that grow naturally here. It doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. In fact, all the ones up here, this guy right here with the small white flowers, these guys actually the bees love. I see bees on these things going crazy every single day. So this is just pollinator feed. It's certainly not something I need to get rid of. I'm not worried about like needing to occupy every single square inch of my vertical space with something that's edible or productive, right? Those things are productive by attracting pollinators and everything to my property. So yeah, it doesn't have to be all productive, right? It just needs to be, just think about using it. If you can use that for a productive space, is there a way for you to do that that will work for, you know, your situation, your context? It also depends on what the crop is, how the growth type of that vertical kind of climbing vine or whatever it is. Typically it's a vine if you're going vertical. So that's just something to think about. A couple other ways to think about kind of growing vertically and talking about the fence line specifically here. You can see here I have chayote. So chayote, it actually starts right down here at the base in between everything in here. And you can't really see, but see how this vine, it basically comes right down into this area. That's where it starts, right down there. But this vine, I'm basically using it to grow up onto the fence line, and then I'm allowing it to move all the way across the fence. You can see it's just continuing to go and go and go. At this point, it's all the way over here. This is the leading tip right there. It's way on the far side. There's actually another leading tip right there. So this thing's really starting to scramble all over this fence line. And that vertical space right there is something I probably wouldn't have been using, and I would have had to keep clearing of all these viney growth that is pretty typical here in the tropics. On this side, you can see it's going this way, and the leading tip is actually way over here right now. It's actually growing up this these posts a little bit, so I need to actually pull that down so it doesn't get used to going up there, because these are other posts that I can use for more vertical space in other beds. So using this fence line, using what you have around you to try to take advantage of that, and also instead of you having to, you know, you can see over here the vines, they just take over, they start going everywhere, right? So instead of having a kind of a weedy growth, having that happen, I'm choosing to actually occupy the space with something that I want, this chayote, right? Obviously this right here, it's a little a bean lean-to right here. So this is also a way to utilize vertical space, obviously, moving that upwards, and this is just basically 3-post lean-to, and it's doing well. It's actually moringa, and you can see it's actually starting to grow because there's still leftover sugars and everything in that post right there. So those are fresh posts, and I used them right onto the ground. And so it might be trying to set roots and start growing there, but I won't let it actually grow long-term in this spot. This bean right here is a type of bean I'm growing. It's winged bean, actually. You can see down here, these are the pods, bean pods that they produce. So these two I'm actually letting go to seed, so I can collect the seed and start more bean vines, hopefully, or at least that's the goal. So that's another way of going vertically, just using like a post here. And like, look at that, you don't need to go buy posts or anything like that. These are all just literally posts that came from the moringa tree right here when I was doing some pruning. So I just keep those and use them. And moringa tree is not very strong. Like, it's definitely not an ideal post wood. It snaps pretty easy, but for something like a bean trellis that I don't necessarily need to last long term, if I can use that post material right from my site to create my little bean trellis, that's a benefit to me, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect and beautiful. It just needs to work, right? Use what you have, use what's available to you to maximize your production however you can. The other vertical space I'm now using finally is actually the vertical space right above my chicken coop here. So you can see these wires going crisscross around here. I'm going to take you around to the front so we can actually see a little bit of a better overview picture before I start to go into the details of how I got this done. The goal here is to use this passion fruit, which is now currently growing up this tree. So this is another vertical space I'm using. Let me get you a little bit better, hopefully lighting there. This is a vertical space I'm using that's just going up into this tree, and this is just a support tree, so I don't mind if that passion fruit pulls that down at all. That doesn't really bother me too much. But yeah, this passion fruit, you can see it's a vining crop. It produced a fruit. It's a perennial, So I'd like to have that growing. It also happens to be one of my favorite fruits of all time. So these vines start right down here in the base here, right at the base of this kind of baby avocado tree. So they all start there, and a lot of them you can see are going up, up, up into this tree, and then that's just climbing up. So we might get some parcha fruit out of that area, but more likely what I think will happen is this whole tree will just snap at some point, and I'll cut it back, etc. And that's kind of what that whole tree is used for. The tree is not for long-term keeping. That tree is to grow. I'll cut it. I use that post for wood. It's also a leguminous tree, so when I do cut it, it's going to basically release a whole bunch of nitrogen-rich material into the ground. Every time you cut that, it's just going to cause a big flush of nitrogen to happen in that ground there, just because it has those relationships with rhizobium bacteria on their roots. So that's a good thing for me. Back to this vertical space, the other thing I'm doing with this parcha, when I realized it was growing here, I didn't really want it to go up right here because the rooster and the cat just got in a big fight. Ooh, buddy, you okay? You okay? That's why you shouldn't go in there. Good job, rooster. You're protecting everyone. Look at him now. Now he wants to play. He thinks it's a fun game. It's a fun game until he gets attacked by the rooster. That's all I'm saying. Good job, rooster. I commend my rooster for that. That's exactly what I want him to do. If there's cats or anything in near, especially our chicks, but all of our hens here, I want him to protect. So good job, bud. Look at him. He's all riled up now, running all over the place. I think he wants to do his little mounting thing to show he's boss. Good boy. Good boy. Good job, rooster. Apologies, guys. Back to this. So we have a vine here, and instead of having it grow up here, because this way is south over here, so south is pretty much directly that way, and this is where all my sun is going to be coming from, kind of in this, or really it's way up here in the summer, but right now it's more like down here. So I don't want that to block the garden bed that's over here, right? Because I have a garden bed right there. So I don't really want this to be super high and blocking all that. Maybe in the middle of the summer, I'll allow it to get a little bit more kind of side growth to give that a little bit of extra shade, just to give me that high shade in the summertime that I need. But instead what I'm doing is moving it along this way low, and then up a trellis over here. And then it's going up and onto this new trellis that I just built. So let's head up over there. I'll show you kind of what the goal is and what the idea is. So this trellis is meant to go above the chickens, and you can see it's going, that's the initial post where I have the parcha vines starting to move up towards. And you can also see I have all this Malabar spinach that's already growing up the side of the fence line here. So I'm also just encouraging that to go up and over. But what this is doing is it's stacking functions here. The area above this coop is pretty much unused by me. I'm not actually using it for anything productive until now, right? It was just basically a shade cloth, helping keep the chickens with a little bit of extra shade in the middle of the day there. But now what's going to end up happening is the parcha vine, hopefully, if all goes well, the parcha vine will come up from over here, start to spread across. And what I did is actually added these wires all throughout, the kind of crisscross wires. Yeah, you can see it better over there. These crisscross wires, that's just going to help give them some support to basically get onto there, hold on to all the vines, the little tendrils of those vines. It'll hold on to those and have something to kind of spread out on. So all I did here was use basically 4x4 posts, and actually I have a bunch of little time lapses of me doing that. So I'll actually I'll roll those while I describe that to you. So the first thing I did obviously was I had to add the posts. So while the chickens were out, or I tried to let them out, but they always like to see, whenever I'm digging holes, they really like to be around, so they end up coming back and checking out what I'm doing, which is always kind of fun for me, but often gets in my way. So basically the first thing I did was add posts. I did one or two on one day and then one on the next day, just to have everything ready. And then what I did is started adding the cross beams going across all the posts, just to give me some sort of structure. Now on the far side of this, on the really the southern southeast side, I wanted to go basically from the coop up towards the moringa tree there, and the moringa tree is actually serving as like a post for one of my cross beams there. So panning back to where I am now, you can see that I'm going from the coop here. This is being a support, and then it's going to this first beam right here. Oops, sorry. This first post right here. right? And then it's going up and up, and then it sits on top of that one 2x4 that's actually going through the moringa. You can see that over there. So that one is actually not attached at all. It's actually just running through the crook there, the little Y of that moringa tree. It's not attached, it's just using that as a support. And that's just because I want that moringa tree to be able to grow, so I want to be able to actually move that 2x4 every once in a while to make sure, just kind of push it up a little bit, just to make sure it's not getting like stuck in that moringa wood. Anyway, once I actually got the those kind of main support structures down, I added 3 beams going across everything, and that's just to give me a support for all the the vines and everything, but B, a place to add these little screws and these wires on. So once I got those up and adjusted and kind of in place exactly where I wanted them, I just added short screws on kind of up and down my main kind of post areas, or these beams that are going across, and that just gives me something to attach that wire onto. I basically just wrapped it as I was going. So started at one place, went across. Anytime I got to a screw, I would kind of do 2 wraps on it, and I kept going back and forth to create just kind of some sort of little mesh. It's like a little netting of this a net of wire that goes through there, and that's just to help support any of that vertical growth that I'm getting from those vines. So from underneath, you can see this is kind of what it looks like. It's just a bunch of, it's like a grid pattern. That's not exact, but that's okay. But you can already see here that these vines, this is just the Malabar spinach that was already growing, but I just threw these up on here. But you see they have something to support themselves onto. And sure, they're gonna fall down like this a little bit, but that's okay. This area now above me is gonna end up being productive. So short term, it'll probably be Malabar spinach that's kind of growing, right? It's already growing, that's kind of what is here. But long term, this right here, this vine, this is the passion fruit. Hopefully this is what ends up taking over. This tendril right here, you can see that I'm kind of adjusting. It will end up wrapping around just like that onto the actual wire there. And then that will be able to start spreading all throughout above here. And then hopefully when the parch is actually ready, the shade cloth that I have underneath here will actually help direct it down to one side. So instead of me having to go into the chicken pen and actually kind of collect everything, I'm trying to use the shade cloth above me to actually catch and direct all those parches, all those passion fruit. It's called parcha here, that's why I keep saying that, down to the side. So you can see on this side, if the passion fruit kind of falls right here, it's going to roll this way and end up right at the edge here. So I can basically add a little basket or a bucket or something like that, so when they roll down there, I can collect them all into that bucket. So that's what I'm talking about, using vertical space. So you can see all this area above the chickens previously was unused essentially. It wasn't like not used, I did have a shade cloth, right? So it was being shade, but it was not productively used. And now that I've added this little bit of a trellis, really basic, all this material I actually was scrounged, I actually got for free. Basically a salvage job. I went and took something apart and took it all. So all this material's free for me. So that's a really huge benefit. Actually, the only thing that's not free is that wire. That wire I did buy, but that was something like, maybe 10 bucks or something like that. So this entire project, total cost really was just my time, 10 bucks in wire or so, and then and getting it all set up and troubleshooting, etc. from there. So really cool, kind of minimizing how much cost I need to put into this. Obviously I got lucky in finding all this material. You could obviously buy this and put it in there, but I'm just reusing what I have. Instead of doing like a big post out of like 4x4 like I'm using here, because I have them, right? This is 4x4 because I have. You can just use posts that you find if you have a bigger homestead, a bigger property. You can use a big post from the forest, use those as your post. Use different branches and beams as your actual beam structure instead of actual like 2x4. So you could use this off of just what you have on your land, right? It's just a little easier to work with stuff that's already been pre-milled, etc., which is why I've done that here. So kind of one last little overview for you there. On this top part that's right near the coop, I'm just going to leave that as shade cloth for now, but once the vines get going, if I think I need more space, I will add more of that wire mesh, kind of wire crisscross, just to help support them. And then on this side, you can see nice, it'll hopefully become a nice productive green space for us above the hens and the chickens. And that will, I think actually, I mean, I sunk those decently deep. It wasn't as deep as it necessarily had to be for hurricane proofing, right? The posts, that is, but hopefully with all of the vine growth, that enough weight will start pushing down and actually keep all that in. So if a hurricane does come, I think the vines are actually end up holding it all together for me and giving that nice protected space under there as well. So it should also be a protection area for the chickens during those hurricane season times. So I'm really excited to see how this turns out. I'll keep you guys updated on this project as it kind of starts to, as the passion fruit hopefully starts to spread on the little trellis I have above there, and hopefully in probably more like 3 to 6 months time, we'll have a pretty much green little roof there, and I'll be able to show you that in an update video. So I'll link back to this video then. So if you're watching this one from the future, cool. All right, that's going to be it for me. I just want to say one more thing, that Jeff Lawton's online permaculture design course is now open and ready for registration. If you guys are interested in taking a design course from the same person I took my design course from and be able to basically use all that knowledge to do everything I'm doing in this backyard here, you can check out that course. I'll leave the link below. It's actually an affiliate link, so if you use the link below to sign up for the course, I actually get a little bit of a kickback commission, which is really nice. It basically helps me run this channel, you know, run my YouTube vlog, buy the material I need. There are costs associated with doing this kind of stuff, so it just allows me to basically keep everything running for you guys with a little bit of kind of extra side income that I wouldn't be expecting otherwise. So if you made it this far and you're interested in checking out Jeff's course, click below in the show notes down there. You can look right down there and the link will be there waiting for you. I think I'll probably also link to my website page where I actually talk about my experience doing the course and everything, so you can actually go check that out, read all about it. I took this course and I'm actually now a TA, so I'm actually working for them now. So really exciting, really excited for me personally, but yeah, I'm so excited to be part of this course and be part of it. So if you do sign up for the course, you'll actually be interacting with me within the course. So another benefit, or maybe not, who knows, if you don't want to hear my voice anymore. You hear enough here, right? All right, that's all for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you do like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel or like videos or share videos or anything like that. It really helps me get the word out there and get more subscribers, more followers, more people seeing the videos, which basically helps me grow this channel. So if you want me to keep doing this, please share videos, please subscribe, please like, and do everything you can to help me get this thing continuing to move forward. Hope you have a great day, a great week. If I'm not posting as much recently on my social media or here, it's just because we're just starting this online permaculture design course that I'm now working with. So I'm quite busy at this point in time. All right, folks, that's all from me today. And until next time, have a good one.